My name's Claire Paddison, and I was the stakeholder and community manager for the Causeway Link Alliance for 3 years, I've been a member of the Engagement Institute on and off for nearly 25 years. The project was originally called the Causeway Pedestrian and Cyclist Bridge Project. It's better known now and was renamed as Boorloo Bridge. The project was initiated in 2019, not by the Causeway Link Alliance, but by West Australia's Department of Transport, where it identified the original problem, which was ensuring that there was safety for path users, whether they were pedestrians or cyclists. And we needed better infrastructure to provide and improve the way people were moving around the city. What inspired the Alliance to submit a proposal into the awards was probably the outcome that we had from the project. So in the first week of the project we had 80,000 people crossing the bridge. There was a really high participation rate on social media. People were really excited about it. But even more deeper than that was the reaction to the Aboriginal interpretation of the bridge, and the feedback from the elders and their families and the broader Noongar community as well, about how proud they were to see the stories of their culture and their heritage interpreted through a really iconic piece of infrastructure. And that didn't just happen by chance, that happened by a very thorough and robust engagement process. And to be honest with you, I thought it was worthy of telling that story, and that we should give it the opportunity to put in for an award. One of the biggest challenges that we faced on the project was ensuring that we had consistency of stakeholders participating in the project. We had 18 Whadjuk Noongar Elders engaged in an advisory group, and they had been engaged much earlier on than the Alliance's participation in the project. So from 2019, elders were engaged in really selecting the alignment and the early design for the bridge. The challenge for the Causeway Link Alliance was to ensure that we could continue to have full participation, a high level of interest, and that there was ongoing support for the project, but equally that we ensured that we were very clear about the level of influence and the level of participation that the elders had, and that they were properly listened to, and their feedback and input into the design process as well as the construction methodology was taken on board, and that we really closed the loop on some of the discussions and that we had with them to explain what we could take on board and what we couldn't. I think the reason we managed that challenge really well is that we were really clear about the project parameters, so the negotiables and non-negotiables. Programme, budget had to be really clear, but we were really flexible around the input that we could take on board for the design process, with very key consideration around safety and being able to actually design and build this bridge. But equally the elders had their own parameters as well. We had to have a light touch on the Yerrigan, which is the Swan River. So we had to design a bridge and develop construction methodology that meant we had the light touch on the Yerrigan, and we really needed to make sure that we interpreted the cultural narrative that came through a lot of storytelling and yarning time that we had with those elders. For me personally, it has been an honour to represent the project, particularly through this awards process. But for me on the project, what was personally rewarding was the privilege and opportunity to sit with Whadjuk Noongar Elders and listen to their stories, and have the luxury of time to be able to do that, and to be able to design an engagement process that they felt was really meaningful, that they were being listened to. And our evaluation actually provided us with that feedback, that they were very supportive, very satisfied with that process, and that meant a lot to me. But equally, it wasn't just a me process. what was really satisfying, it was a huge team effort, the whole engagement process, and just working with some absolute professionals in their own disciplines who would intersect in different stages of the engagement process to be able to get relevant feedback to be able to feed into the project. And that was really satisfying, was the level of commitment that everybody had to really understanding the cultural significance of this project and achieving the objective, which was to showcase Whadjuk Noongar culture to the world. If I was going to give people advice about putting an award submission in, give yourself plenty of time and really think about, don't be shy to think about the challenges, what went wrong. I think that's important to acknowledge that, but equally, what did you do to turn things around if things weren't going well? And have a look at the core value criteria, really understand the principles of engagement, and make sure that your project addresses all of those before you start putting in the effort. It takes a little bit of time, but I actually think it's also a really great opportunity to reflect on the process and understand the lessons learned that you can take on into the future for other projects.